Hello, John Talley here with Partzilla.com, and as you can see, we've been doing quite a bit of work to our 2005 Honda CRF450R. Now today we're going to focus in on the shock. And what we're going to be doing is replacing both the upper and lower bearing on it. So let's step over to the table and look at the parts and the tools I'm going to use to pull this off. Alright guys, so what I've decided to go with is a kit from PivotWorks. Now with that kit, you get both the spherical bearing that goes at the top of the shock, as well as the lower bearing that actually goes to this piece. Now we already replaced the bearing inside the one on our unit, and if you need help doing that, why don't you reference this unit's playlist and I can walk you through the process. Now, as far as the special tools, you'll need to pick up this bearing puller from Motion Pro. It does a very slick job of carefully removing that upper bearing and then reinstalling it. Now, if you want to go the caveman route, you're risking damaging the top of your shock, which is no longer available, so you don't want to go down that path. This makes it a lot easier. It's going to get the bearing extracted and the new one pressed in without damaging this top of the shock. So you definitely need to pick up one of these. Well, now that we've got our parts and our special tools assembled, give me a couple of minutes to pull the shock off the unit and then we'll dive into it. All right guys, let's dive into this. Let's start by picking our seals out and the two that you're going to be after. There's a larger one on this side, and just note the orientation. And then your smaller one is over here. So we're just going to use pick tools to get those out. And once we get the larger one out, there is going to be a retention ring that we need to get out of the way. Then we can extract the bearing. Now let's see if we can dig that out. There she comes. One seal down. Let's go ahead and pop the other one out. Same scenario, just get a pick tool in there and pop it out. Now, let's flip it back over. We're going to use our tool to push it down a little bit to get clearance to get the stopper ring out. Get it to slide down just a little bit. That's all it should take. Now, that should give us enough room to get the stopper ring out. I'll start by just loosening it up in its groove, getting it to break free. Then pinch it on one side, get a pick tool up under it, and then just walk it around. Now we can use our tool and go ahead and push it through to get it all the way out. And make sure this section of the tool is toward the top of the shock itself. Okay, so we've got it in place. Now we're going to pull it into this cavity. Now, as I've said, you can caveman this out, but if you do, you run such a risk of snapping off the end of that or the top of the shock. This tool makes it so much easier. Look at that. The way it should be done. It was time. A lot of play in this. You can't hear it, but I can feel it actually rocking up and down in there. So, like all the other bearings before it, or on the other end, it was definitely time to replace this one. So now, let's spend a little bit of time getting this cleaned back out, and then we'll pull in the new one. But before we install the new one, let's put just a light layer of grease. Don't have to get crazy about it. Just to make it easier for it to pull into place. before you drive this in, make sure it's centered and level before you pull it in. Pull it in until it bottoms out. Then we will install our stop ring and then preload it back against the ring in the opposite direction. All right, pop in our new clip. Make sure it seats. All right, it's seated in. Let's see if we can back it back up. Won't take much, just back it up until she seats, and then you're good to go. All right, with that clipped in, let's go ahead and get our seals in place. We're going to put a little bit of grease around both sides and just press them in by hand. Not that tough to do. Flat side goes in. There she goes. Once again, flat edge down or in. All right, guys, you should be able to push this in with your fingers. I know mine seems to be a little bit tight, so I'm going to carefully use the tool to push it in place. Just be careful not to let it get folded over the edge and cut it. There we go. Now she's happy. Well, all right, guys, that's going to wrap up this project. All I have to do now is just remount it to the machine, and keep in mind that your torque values for both the top and the bottom mount is just 33 foot-pounds. Well, listen, if you need these or any other parts for your machine, why don't you come see us at Partzilla.com and we can get you taken care of. If you have any questions or comments about this video, leave them in the section below and I'll do my best to answer them. And hey, if you like what you see, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you can keep up with whatever I'm working on next. We just want to say thank you for shopping here with us at Partzilla, and we will see you in the next video. Y'all have a great day.